You're mostly focused on corruption, right, David? Your attitude is this is going to be a totally corrupt administration. Follow the money. So explain why. You basically say nothing else matters. Just focus on this. Tell us why.
I think that why is Donald Trump president? What is he trying to do? He obviously has no ideas. He obviously doesn't have a lot of regard for the job or even much of an agenda, which he switches from minute to minute. What he has made clear is that he is going to get rid of all previous restrictions on presidential wealth seeking. No one has ever really tried to see how much money can you make out of the presidency of the United States. But around the world, we have seen authoritarian leaders, sometimes in fairly modern countries, like in Hungary, say, I am going to use the lack of transparency in the office to make myself seriously wealthy. And that can succeed. It succeeded in Hungary, obviously succeeded in many places in the former Soviet Union. It succeeded in other semi-democracies. And Donald Trump is bringing that project right to these shores.
Do you have this concern? I mean, look, part of what the Trump campaign, I asked Kellyanne Conway about this yesterday on the show, and her attitude is basically, he's already seriously wealthy. What are you talking about? He's a rich guy. He's not, if he was in this for the money, he wouldn't have run for president in the first place. He spent a bunch of money. Now he's going to try to make America great again. This is all kind of ridiculous, what Frum and others are saying. What say you about this particular aspect of potential problem?
Well, that would be the hope and that would be the expectation. The problem is that we already know that he's told the New York Times today, he used the Nixon standard, the sort of post-1865 Reconstruction standard, to say that a president cannot exactly be held legally accountable. The only real way to hold a president legally accountable for misbehavior is the nuclear option of impeachment. Otherwise, much of the way the Constitution is structured, he is not exactly punishable by the court system or by the system that we have. So we are in uncharted waters in the sense that if he's going to say that he can run his business and run the presidency at the same time if he chooses to, not only is that a conflict of interest, it represents an entirely new idea of moonlighting at the highest level that we've ever possibly seen it. And I would just ask you one question, which is, his behavior is insane in this one sense. He got himself to the presidency, one of the greatest feats in political history on this planet. What does he need this, a golf course in Florida for? Right. What does he need to talk about wind farms on a golf course in Scotland for? That's pipsqueak stuff. He's the president of the United States. This should all be like toy trains to him now that he has, has the executive branch of the United States to play with.
Since you have no hope, can I ask you about
John,
another? I'm sorry. Go ahead, David.
That's just the appetizer portion. Look, the working motto of this administration, to update Dr. Evil in the Austin Powers series, is why make billions when you can make trillions? Donald Trump is rich, but he's not as rich as Silvio Berlusconi. He's certainly not as rich as Vladimir Putin. He's not comparing himself to you and me. He's comparing himself to Vladimir Putin and saying, what has he got that I've got? And the scale of wrongdoing that has already begun is unprecedented. As to Kellyanne Conway's point about, well, he's already rich, he's too rich to need to steal. Look, one of the things as we break away from all the precedents of the history of the American Republic, certainly the modern Republic, is we also, as members of the media, have to be able to break away from some of our inhibitions and restrictions. It's hard for us to have a guest on our set, look them in the face and say, but you're just a liar. But the problem is, Donald Trump lies all the time, every day, hundreds of times a day. And the people around him are supposed to do the same thing. They lie to us all the time. And not just like Hillary Clinton, I don't remember lies. What dead body kinds of lies. I don't see any dead body on the carpet in front of me. There's no dead body there, and there's a dead body there.
Can I ask you something, though, about something David mentioned, this authoritarian streak? You obviously aren't sleeping well these days. Is this sort of parallel between Putin's reign, what's happening in the Philippines? Does this global arc of authoritarianism, is that another thing that worries you? I know David's obsession is the money. I've read a lot in your publications about the authoritarian impulses.
I think that something very improvisatory is going on here, and this is where David and I would probably come to a disagreement. I don't think there's a plan. I think that he didn't really think he was going to win, and so the idea was he would go back to his business, and now he's president. Now it's like, well, I got the business and I got the presidency. As long as I'm on the phone, you know, with Nigel Farage, maybe I could tell him to kill the wind farms in Scotland. And if I'm on the phone with the president of Argentina, I can put Ivanka on and they can talk business. And it hasn't sunk in yet. David thinks it has and that this is the purpose. I think it hasn't sunk in yet. And he did say to the New York Times, like, I don't even care about my businesses anymore. It's not important to me now. Well, if that's true, then he can divest himself of the businesses, which is what he should do, because he is walking into a buzzsaw. And I don't care whether he has a Republican Congress or not. If it happens that the President of the United States is enriching himself personally using his office, he will be impeached and removed from office, even by a Republican Congress. It's so egregious that it cannot be missed.
But this is my question, and you know, one of the things he asserted to the New York Times is that as president, you can't have a conflict of interest, which I really would like to try to understand better. He is quoted as saying that. But David, I ask you, you guys are both Republicans, okay? That's a proven fact. So this is kind of on you here, in the sense that, at least on your party, like, what happens now if you're right, David Frum, that this is going to be basically a semi-criminal enterprise going forward in violation of the Constitution, and trying to enrich himself at a Putin, Berlusconi, Carlos Slim level going forward? What will it take at this moment? Trump points out over and over again today to the Times, everyone in the Republican Party now loves me. Paul Ryan loves me. Mitch McConnell loves me. Everybody loves me. What will it take for your party to say, hold on, and prosecute him for try to impeach him, is what you're saying is the only way to stop it?
Well, there are ways to stop him short of impeachment, or at least to hinder him. The very first thing to do is to pass Senator Wyden's bill to require the president to publish tax returns. That's something Congress does have the power to do. It's hesitated to do it. Do it now. That is a powerful prophylactic. Congress should convene if Donald Trump will not divest himself, as John recommends. Congress should convene a standing investigative committee to make sure that there is no wrongdoing, and that should be set up as a permanent committee with equal numbers of Republicans and Democrats, in my opinion, just to check what's going on. And it should issue subpoenas freely.
But sorry, I was just going to say that.
No, let Dave finish. David, go ahead, finish.
All right, so you don't have to get there to
impeachment, the
darkest possibilities. But I would say one more thing. We have to bust out of some frames, and we have to bust out of the idea of politics as a game. The institutions of the country are in danger. I actually probably agree, speaking of republicanism, with quite a lot of what Donald Trump would, like if he were a different human being, would want to do, more than John, I think. I generally agree with his immigration policies. I appreciate his attempt to make the Republican Party more secular and more focused on middle-class economics, at least rhetorically. It's not about agendas anymore. It is about protecting the institutions of the country at a time when democratic institutions around the planet are under great pressure.
I would say this, which is that we saw a gigantic victory in 2008. By Barack Obama that was presaged by a huge victory in 2006 by the Republicans in Congress. And the idea that this can't turn on a dime, that if Trump looks like a crook, that you couldn't have a reverse Tea Party rise in the Democratic Party that would throw the Republicans out and block him and investigate him and kill him, you know, beginning in 2018, despite the fact that the Senate structurally is supposed to go the Republican way. We've seen it happen. We've seen it happen in this presidency. We saw it happen to George W. Bush after a big victory in 2004. So he should not be secure, and his people should not be secure in the idea that the love of the Republican Party is going to allow him to do whatever he wants for 4 years.